Hi guys, today I am recording a little bit different video than usually. I'm going to talk about various crafts that I enjoy making and I want to share, but don't have a way to record videos about them, which is mostly going to be knitting and ceramics. However, I will talk about my usual art as well. I don't know if there will be more videos like this in the future, probably depends whether I have something to talk about or not. Unfortunately, I had to record this voiceover separately because I don't have a microphone and my phone was too far away and sound that it recorded was terrible, but I will try to make it as close to the original as possible. So let's get to it. I will start with my regular art. Last month I participated in Inktober, which is a challenge taking place in October in which you have to draw an ink drawing every day. There are prompts, but I didn't follow them but did something more in my style. My theme was Animals of Poland, and each day I was drawing a different animal that lives in my country. I recorded a detailed video for each week with some information about each animal and also a summary flip-through video that you can check out. I didn't have time to create anything else in October, but just before it started I did some other paintings. The first one is this watercolor horse. You might know from my previous watercolor videos that I attended a workshop in spring where we painted a horse which I was very happy with. But when I tried to paint another horse I failed, it was very bad. So I was intimidated to try another one, but luckily this one turned out how I wanted and it restored my confidence. I recorded my process and there will be a video in the future, but I have no idea when I will manage to finish editing it. The second thing I made were those 4 cats pictures. I painted them with gouache and I made a challenge for myself because I painted them all at once. I taped 4 sketches to my painting board and worked on all of them almost at the same time, layer by layer. It wasn't very challenging because even with having them all started, I painted them one layer at a time individually, but still it was something different than painting them separately. I also recorded this, so after I find time to edit this, it will appear on the channel. In November, I am planning to participate in another challenge. It is called a Folktale Week. There are 7 prompts and you are supposed to create some illustrations inspired by folktales. I have never done anything like that and I am curious how those pictures will turn out. I'm planning to use gouache and already have some ideas, but I haven't painted anything yet. This is all about art. Now let's talk about knitting. The first garment that I will talk about was started in January and finished in October. And this is actually this sweater that I am wearing. It was knitted with Drops Air and Kid Silk according to the Drops pattern named Sweet November. I will link this pattern in the description. I quite like it, however I didn't make any swatch before knitting and it turned out a little bit bigger than I wanted. Looking at the photo on the website, it is supposed to be oversized, but it is bigger than I would like it to be. And what annoys me the most is that the sleeves start too low. I would much rather like it to be a little tighter in this area. Also, the sleeves are slightly too long. They were fine after knitting, but after blocking they got longer. Some people would like that fit, but to me it is annoying that they fall over my hands. The ends were also much tighter, but I like to roll up my sleeves when I am too hot, so after wearing them for a while like that, they are looser, which makes them fall on my hands even more. But apart from that, I am quite happy with it. It is the first sweater that I knitted, so I'm not too bothered about it. The second sweater that I want to show you was made with crochet. I actually started my knitting journey from crochet and this is the first sweater that I have ever made. It was based on a pattern from a YouTube video that I will link below. I love this cat pattern, although if I were to make it again, I would change this pink color to something else. I really don't like this color. And although I like this sweater, it gives me vibes of an ugly Christmas sweater, so I never really wear it outside. I also still haven't weaved in the ends. It is a total mess inside. But to be honest, I hate doing this and I don't think I will ever weave them in. Although I should at least weave in this visible end. Anyway, I am glad I made it. The crochet part was easy, but doing this pattern with so many colors was quite challenging, as managing that many yarn balls at once is not easy. After making this sweater too big, for my next projects I started to swatch like crazy and even made multiple swatches for one because I didn't get correct gauge. So those violet yarns, or purple, I'm confused why, there are two words for the same color in English, and I'm not sure if there is any difference, but those two are for Drops pattern Moon Mist that is very similar in construction to this one that I am wearing, but I plan to make some changes to that pattern so that it is not that oversized and that the sleeves start higher. I'm not super happy with the colors. I mean, I really like both of them separately, but knitted together they mute each other out, so I still like it and I am going to use this combination since I already have the yarn, but it could be better. This cream swatch is from Drops Air and it is for a cardigan, also from Drops pattern called Tidal Treasure Jacket. It is going to be challenging as I have never made a cardigan before. There are going to be buttons and also a more complicated pattern around the neck. I have never done that before, so I'm curious if I will manage to finish that. And now those navy swatches, they are for a pattern that you might know if you are into knitting. It is going to be Petite Knit Zipper Sweater Light. I made two swatches. One is in the round, as this is what you are supposed to do when the project is knitted in the round. Although mine turned out much wider on one side, so I'm not sure how accurate it is. But I am going to use a completely different yarn than she does, since I've only been using Drops yarn and they use letters to determine weight, which turns out is not that common, but my yarn is weight C. And the pattern seems to be calling for yarn B. I think this is DK and my yarn is thicker. I wouldn't call it bulky though. Anyway, I managed to get almost the same gauge, although I am off by one stitch and I would like to get the measurements for the smallest size. The sweater is supposed to be 20 centimeters positive ease, but this is just so much for me. I don't like such oversized sweaters. However, with my gauge, if I need XS, I will get measurements of S size. So I did some math and I calculated how many stitches left to cast on to get almost the same measurement as for XS size. I already started the collar. I don't have much yet, but it is slowly growing. I hope I got those calculations right and it will turn out as I wanted, but we will see. There are quite a lot of risks here with that many changes, but I am quite confident that I checked and measured everything. You might ask, why make everything more complicated than it needs to be instead of getting the same yarn, or at least the yarn group? Well, this is because I already have a huge quantity of this yarn. It's been sitting in my stash for probably almost 2 years now, because when I started crocheting, I wanted to make a sweater for my husband. I made this much, but with crochet, it is just so bulky that he's not going to like that. I don't like such thick sweaters too. I tried knitting it back then, but I was just starting and I wasn't good at it. I tried to make a collar with magic loop as I didn't have double pointed needles then, and I really cannot do the magic loop to this day. It is always stretched out at this one place. It is basically one big hole. So I had to unravel it and this yarn was just sitting in my yarn box waiting for a different project. And I love what the zipper sweater looks like. I have a similar sweater and always wanted something similar. So this is why I'm using this yarn and I'm making it complicated. Last craft that I wanted to talk about today is ceramics. I've been attending a ceramic studio for over 2 years now. This is a kind of a studio where everybody makes what they like from the materials that are available. And instructors are there to help if anyone has any questions, and I really like this concept. So I have made many different things with better or worse results, but I would like to talk about my recent creation that turned out exceptionally well. And those will be two mugs. The first one is a whale mug. It was created a little bit by accident. I was trying to do a new technique. I don't know its name in English, but from Polish it translates to marble technique. It consists in adding some pigmented liquid clay to a regular liquid clay and can create interesting results. But I had no idea how to do that. This was my first try, and instead of the marble effect, I got those drips of pigmented clay. I thought that it looks a little bit like water and decided to paint some whales on it. It looked very nice after first fire. I will show you on the screen a photo from the stage, but after glazing it and the second fire, I was very surprised because I didn't expect it to be so dark. So I felt quite disappointed, but actually my husband liked it a lot. He noticed that this part looks a little bit like a whale tail and that they really look like they are underwater. Lighter spots are quite bright and seem to be shining. So after overcoming the first shock of how dark it is, I like it a lot right now. The second mug is a toucan mug. It was painted with underglaze, and I used this underglaze many times to make some gifts for friends by painting pet portraits on mugs. However, this paint is very tricky. Painting with it is similar to gouache, but they change completely after firing. So I was never sure which colors I will get. And the final results were often streaky and not very opaque. But I tried looking for some information on YouTube, and there aren't many resources, but the ones that I found were quite good and were saying that for a nice coverage we should paint 3 layers of each color, and each layer must be fully dry before applying the next one. I tried that here and the result is really great. For the background I used 2 or 3 blues overlaying each other so that this is more of a watercolor effect. And for the toucans, I carefully applied 3 layers of each color. The lines that you can see were later scratched out with a sharp tool. I think this technique is called graffito. I thought you will be able to see that those places are deeper, but they actually got filled completely with glaze and the surface is smooth. There are 2 slight defects. There are some bubbles on the beaks. I have no idea what might have caused them. And on the inside I used a pale blue glaze, and for the outside and the rim I used a translucent glaze. And on this rim where those 2 glazes met, they mixed a little bit and there is this wave that doesn't look great. Previously, when I was doing the colorful inside, the painting on the outside was without any background. So I always made the rim colorful and it looked much better. I guess I won't be using any colors for the inside of full painted mugs anymore. Nonetheless, this is my favorite mug so far and I am proud I made it. And this is all in this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it interesting. I definitely enjoyed talking about those stuff. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one. Bye bye!